Greetings humanity, and welcome to Channel Otherdock. I'm Jim, I use he, him pronouns, and this is Alas for the Angry Void. This is a reskinning of Alas for the Awful Sea by Storybrewers Roleplaying to tell a gothic science fiction story set among the stars. Once again, we only have a couple of folks with us today, as real lives. But let's go ahead and say hi to the folks we have with us today, see who they are and who they're playing. And we shall start once again with Hollow. Hello.
Hello, I'm Hollow. I use he, him pronouns, and I am playing Jackson Mead, the merchant confidant who also uses he, him pronouns.
Excellent. And now we will go over to Cleric. Hello.
Hello, I'm Cleric Cord. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm playing Vargas, the old sea dog, who uses he, him pronouns and is also a creature. We'll just go with he, him pronouns.
Sure, that's fine. And once again, you may see us use safety tools from time to time. Like we do with the other games on this channel, we're going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. If we hit something that's crossing a line for one of us, any of us can type an X in the Zoom chat or anywhere else, hold up a card, make an X symbol, and we'll back up and do something else. If something happens that we're okay having in the game, but we don't want a graphic description of it, we can type an N in the Zoom chat and we'll fade to black on it or put it behind a veil, so it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if we're exploring a topic or an area of roleplay that's particularly intense for us, but we want to keep going anyway, we can put an O in the chat to let us know we're okay and that we're all good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is put an O with a question mark after it when we're moving into a difficult topic, or if we say or we do something and then think, maybe that might have been a little too much. Then everyone else can respond to that again with an X, an N, or an O to let us know if we're still doing okay. We're also using the pause. If any of us needs to take some time, we can ask for a pause in the game while we discuss things, or just take a break for as long as anyone needs. As a reminder, just a few content warnings. This game may contain gothic images, gloom, despair, and gothic themes as well, like gloom, despair, intense emotions, macabre scenes, romance, and curses, along with references to violence, alien creatures, colonialism, crime, death, exploitation, family issues, separation from family, homesickness, loneliness, starvation, sudden decompression, the vacuum of space, and vengeance. If at any time you'd like to see that list, that is going to be coming up regularly on rotation in the chat. You can also, if you're watching live on Twitch, type !CW, and that will pop up there. Also, please remember that we have an open door policy, which means that any of us and any of you can feel free to step away from this at any time if we need to. It's just a game, and mental health is always more important. So, some stuff happened last time.
Just a few things.
Just a few things. Just a few almost negligible things.
Normal everyday
Absolutely.
Space station.
Normal everyday space station occurrences. I will let you know the recap is a tad longer today. Just so you'll be aware. So here we go. The void roils with unbridled chaos, and one of its more dangerous children is awake. Caladrin, the traveler, the pathfinder, the mapmaker, known to the Church of the Eternal Divinity as Saint Caladrin, the one who treads the bridge to the stars, known to the Church of Dara as Caladri, a largely neutral demigod and child of the Warden, a dark dragon-like deity who holds back terrible evils from the afterlife. Caladrin is awake. How did this happen? Well, it was a team effort. Up until very recently, Caladrin was being held in an unconscious state inside a specially designed reliquary chamber, a stone coffin of sorts kept in a shrine at an abbey dedicated to his worship. An abbey located on Mela Space Station in orbit around the planet Discordia and run by Caladrite monks, a subsect of the Eternal Divinity. They were put there. I had to make a decision about a time frame. I said the wrong time frame a little bit for one line last session, but I reorganized the time frame for him. They were put there about 1,500 years ago by yet another order, this time within the Caledrites, the Sentinels of Nod. The founders of this order were what are commonly referred to by humans as visitors, alien beings. In this case, the aliens were from the dying planet Val in the distant Vaucouleur sector, where it said, space becomes strange, and under the right conditions you can see beyond the edge of the void. There are only 2 Val Sentinels remaining, and they go by the names Cormac and Amon. Members of the Val species who've left their home planet tend to avoid each other unless there's a very good reason not to. So the Sentinels take their calling seriously. Fergus, pilot of the CS Chimera and another member of the Val species, has also, for the first time in his life of over 300 years, found a very good reason to connect. The Warden, the dragon-like entity I spoke of a moment ago, who is in fact a powerful extra-dimensional entity, sometimes treated as a god, has revealed to Fergus that one of the prisoners held in their charge will very likely be released in less than 4 days. Knowing this, Fergus attempted to enlist the aid of the Sentinels, and after initially being rebuffed, went to the shrine and found that the security systems that should be in place around it had been deactivated. This led to Fergus, through his ability to communicate across the void, attempting to make an appeal directly to the slumbering form of Caledron to remain in his dormant state. This roused Caledron somewhat, and led to a conversation in which they expressed their desire to be freed and reunited with his lost love beyond the void. At that time, Caledron agreed to give Fergus 1 more day to come up with a plan. And perhaps he would have, were it not for the subsequent actions of the assassin Levitt Teague. Levitt had recently escaped from a ship full of mercenaries and syndicate thugs under the command of a member of the galactic power group, the Ascendancy, Levitt's estranged sister, Euphemia. As I mentioned before, it's complicated. Levitt learned from Scylla Crane, a smuggler who abruptly left her job with the mercenaries and helped Levitt get away, that the crew of that mercenary ship, the Timberwolf, was planning to go to Mela Station and steal their relic, Caledron's body. Levitt also spoke to someone or something else, another being from beyond the void, who speaks to her via her comm unit, and has now identified themselves as the Curator. Among the things the Curator mentioned was that if Caledron were to be taken by the Ascendancy, the result would be most unfortunate. So, unable to reach anyone on the station due to a malfunction in the station's security system that had begun to block outside contact, Levitt took the fastest and most direct action they could think of. They flew the shuttle they were in directly into the side of the station and into its main hall, where the shrine was located. The crash destroyed the shrine and dislodged Caledron's reliquary chamber, causing it to deactivate and bring Caledron into a fully conscious state. Just after the station's emergency bulkheads came down to shield the populace from the vacuum of space, Fergus, who was present, tried to keep Caledron confined in their chamber. But Jackson Mead, merchant and purveyor of canned goods, had other ideas. For the first time in quite a while, Jackson used a method he'd learned as a child to extend his perceptions into the beyond. He saw everything that was happening and made contact with Caledron. He asked the trapped alien what his freedom was worth to him. Caledron responded that in his time, he'd mapped the entire galaxy and knew things about the exchanges between dimensions, if any of that might be of value. Jackson decided that was good enough. He then stirred the hearts of many of the people visiting the station by letting them know Caledron was being held against their will and needed to be freed. The crowd formed into an angry mob and marched their way to the main hall. Fergus changed into his more alien visage and tried to convince the crowd he was Caladrin's avatar, and that they should stay away. Most of the crowd obeyed, but at that moment, the crew of the Timberwolf arrived, shooting their blasters at Fergus and the others as they tried to shoulder their way in and steal the reliquary chamber. In a last-ditch effort to prevent Caladrin from being captured, Fergus opened the chamber and let them out. The ancient cartographer arose and left the room, leaving his would-be kidnappers stunned. He headed across the station to its illumination chapel, where Jackson was there to meet him. They went inside the chapel, where a graffiti-like pattern on the far wall constantly shifts and changes. While many think the pattern is a mere curiosity, in reality it is one of a number of gateways, allowing passage to other points in the Tauren sector for those who know how to use it. Caladrin added a symbol to the pattern, the gate activated, and he and Jackson stepped through. Caladrin is awake and at large. So, we need to find out what's happening there. Fergus, you're receiving medical treatment, or you let them take you to the station's med bay at least. I would assume
good.
yes.
Yeah,
no?
yeah. He's resumed his human form.
Oh, okay.
Rust has already warned him way back that they would not be able to treat him in his alien form. And Fergus blew him off, said that's not a problem. Despite the presence of Amon and Cormac, I think Fergus definitely returned to his human form, and would allow, if they're offering treatment, he'll take it.
Oh yeah, no, they're gonna. Amon's gonna. Cormac's also injured.
Yeah.
And so Amon is going to try to treat you.
Okay.
With perhaps some help from some. They're only allowing monks in the room right now. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I will come back to you.
Fair enough.
Because, well, Jackson is hanging out with an eldritch demigod, so we got to talk about that.
I mean, it's fine. It's probably fine. Stuff will work out.
It's all good. So, I nearly forgot. I need to take out my various randomizer card decks in case I suddenly need an inspiration for something. So you're going to step through this gate, and you are brought to a place. With a domed ceiling. There is. This feels exactly the same as it did when you stepped through the gate the first time. So no variations there. But you're in a place with a domed ceiling that you can see that you can actually, well, I misspoke a little bit here, even in that you can see the domed ceiling from where you are. You're in a smaller chamber adjacent to the room with the high domed ceiling. The walls look very dense, made of dense rock, rough rock. It hasn't been smoothed over. Some kind of natural rock. And you can kind of see, and in the walls, you can kind of see every now and then occasionally these little veins of pink and occasionally green. But otherwise it's more sort of black to grayish rock. There is a lot of dust in this room. I imagine there's an atmosphere here. I need to point that out. So you're fine. You're breathing. There is what looks like just sort of nearby. This very dusty looking control panel with that looks like it has been sitting there for a very long time. There is essentially, as you kind of can turn around and see that you have stepped out of another triangular gate. The 8.5 foot tall being next to you is sort of moving over to another area where he sort of pulls this this very old, and you hear it sort of almost crackling as it moves, this very old kind of covering off of another panel and starts pressing a few buttons on it that you can just audibly hear, and he sort of pulls the lever. And it's the control panels, by the way, are for you at about chest height. I should point out.
Great.
So it's like you could, if you wanted to operate them, you could. You just need to do it kind of like this, basically.
I'm a little baby.
Well, I mean, dude is about, it's like 8'6", something like that. And so they're basically, and you see sort of his kind of tentacle fingers going over the controls a little bit and pulling, and just sort of like every now and then he kind of like, and then he brings his fist up and sort of bangs on the back of it for a second, and you see it hums to life finally.
Banging on equipment is a universal constant, I see.
He nods. Yes, we have. Every device still requires percussive maintenance. I believe the phrase has always been, I am probably going to need to recover soon, but that I can take care of. Your assistance is appreciated. What by humans are still predominant in this spiral arm, yes?
Yes.
You'd assume from what I saw. What are you still using the same calendar? Have you been using the same calendar for the last... How long was I there? What is it by your calendar?
I will give him the current date.
Yeah. And he sort of nods. Right. And I have to explain also, he's still speaking to you telepathically. Yeah. Because he does not actually speak the current version of your language. So he will start into the domed room, and start activating things. And he says, I just need to see if I can pick something up here. And so he bangs on a couple more things, pulls levers, and you see, again, in the domed room. I don't know if you even want to follow him into the domed room or not. I'm just sort of assuming.
I mean, he's my ride. unfortunately.
Fair.
So yeah, gotta follow the guy.
Yeah. The portal is still sort of glowing behind you, but he does. He will activate a few things. And again, basically pulling more tarps off of things. Everything, again, this room also has a lot of different control panels and banks and different types of equipment. Some things you have absolutely no idea what the hell they are. Some things it's like, okay, sort of device. There are things with you see kind of what look like crystalline, sort of a weird sort of crystalline sort of globe. It's not a perfect globe. It's kind of hacked in. It's kind of like a D100, if you've seen one of those.
Right.
And that's one thing. There's like a large sort of it's almost like I would relate it almost to one of those sort of tilting lava lamps type deal, or sort of one of those things tilting ocean things, but it's like this pulse of plasma goes back and forth in midair. It's not actually inside a case of any kind, but when that machine activates. So a bunch of different things are in here. And the dome comes to life after a moment. It starts to glow very faintly with this sort of dark blue. And he's basically... There is a point there where you see suddenly pinpricks come to life and a bunch of stars are there on the dome. And you see him go to some sort of a dial that he's rotating, and you kind of things sort of go very, very quickly back and forth. He's like, by your reckoning, I think this would be about 1,500 years.
All right, that sounds unpleasant. I have to be honest, I wouldn't be alive for such a sleep. I'm sure the equipment would have gone wrong, or my body would have failed by then.
There are means. There are means. There are ways to freeze people in time. Unfortunately, that is not what they did to me. Resets. But this is... I will just need a moment, and then I will see to your... we will discuss your payment.
Of course. Do you know why you were put to sleep?
It is complicated.
Okay.
They, and again, he's put sort of his hands up against his scaly face. And he's still swaddled in this sort of black robe-like thing that they had him in the chamber, and he's like, They feared I would not work with them. I think that might have something to do with it. They did not want me to do something.
Them. That's very abstract. Them could be anyone.
Ah, yes.
I don't have the context.
Sentinels. Sentinels of Nod, they call themselves. They're the ones truly in charge of that station. make it appear to be... I never asked to be a god.
Many don't. They just are. Privilege, you see.
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, the problem is when someone makes you into a god, if you don't do exactly what they want, then they have a problem with that. They have a problem with you.
So, you were not a god to start, just by your association with the warden?
And, just sort of like, no, that. The warden is no god.
Oh, well.
There are those who believe it.
There
are those who believe it, certainly. There are those that I helped. At their suggestion, I helped them.
There are many fools that we have escaped from who do.
They do, yes, they do. And one tries to be... You try to be as responsible as you can when put into that position, but you don't... It's difficult. This is a difficult thing. But... No. They... I don't know. Do they tell stories of me rebelling against them?
No. But to be honest, most of the stories told about you are quite empty because they only speak of the majesty and glory of your sleeping state, and the wonder and power that touching the hem of the seal of your capsule will bestow upon the unworthy. Pretty boring, actually.
I could hear them sometimes. They wanted help. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything to help any of them. Not from where I was.
Jackson has such like a pure vindication. It's like, I couldn't help him. Like, he shouldn't be happy about that, but he is. Like, just,
Yes. Oh, yes. These, and so they're like, okay, but they say, no. The warden took from me, my progenitor took from me, what I valued most, and I aim to get it back. But I must just give me a moment, and they head over to another chamber that's also an offshoot from this one. And he's looking around, and he sees that there are things have been disturbed. He's looking through something. He's looking through where there is. I don't know if you. Do you watch what he's doing, or do you do other things here?
Yeah, because he's a big weird. He's a big weird guy. He's got something going on. He's clearly emotionally disturbed. I need to stay on my shit. If I want to get out of this chamber alive, like I've got a while. It's like I got a really rabid animal, but it's also like 8.5 feet tall and has cosmic powers that I don't understand, but definitely think I can control. So,
sure, it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
It's fine.
So that said, after a moment, as you're watching him, he's digging and more frustratedly through toward the back, and you see some of these boxes, these cases are strewn in not an entirely ordered fashion. And he pulls up and he looks through, and you hear him eventually, you hear him cry out. He's like, "Ah!" And it echoes throughout the this place.
Indigestion?
He turns his head, and you see his eyes flash for a moment. Just a slight glow comes into them for just a second. It's gone. They took it. They must have found it and taken it. Someone. It could be them. They might have taken it. Or he did. And he's coming stalking back out of the chamber. And he's heading to another control panel, moving it around. You can see, as you're sort of following him, you can see there actually is like a... You're not sure if it's a window, but you can see space outside.
So, is your name Caladrin, or is that a name someone gave you?
It's close. It's as good a name as any for this.
I get it. I must.
Kalad.
Kalad.
God. And yeah, he tries to say. He says a thing out loud in a voice that sounds similar, but it's sort of like it sounds kind of like he's. Yeah, it's hard to. Kalodren.
I see. I don't have the mouth. I don't have the mouth parts to say your name. I understand.
This is why they say it as Kalodren is close enough if you wish. Kalodren, Kalad, whatever. And he's sort of frustratedly, he's just sort of searching through. It looks like he might, sort of a weird sort of rotating kind of image appears where he's in front of him that looks like a strange sort of series of spirals that are attached to each other and go back and forth and out, and he's reading it somehow. He's like, no trace. No trace.
So, if you don't mind, what is missing?
The key. They took the key.
The key.
There's a... It means, he says, sort of turning around. Sort of, and again, you can tell he's sort of, again, sort of breathing a little harder because it's, again, is just woke up from a very long thing, so he probably still needs to recover from that. He says, the key was a method, was the means I had of getting to her, the means I had of getting there. From this side.
As compared to...
Beyond. Beyond.
The beyond.
Yes, beyond the void.
Is it bad to say, just to keep you forewarned, therefore forearmed, since I am with you, that it is release time is coming up?
That other one was trying to talk about that other Val. That Val was talking about it. I don't know if you've heard this word before, by the way, that he's using.
Nope.
You have not. Yeah, that Val was talking about it.
What is a vow?
But I don't know. They were vague. They were very vague.
What is you're saying vow, but the context says you're not saying vow as in some sort of pact. You're saying it's like a person, a people.
Valvafor. Yes.
Right.
Valkolia. Whereas you called Inhuman.
Again, I
named that sector.
I can't pronounce a lot of
you have no communication with you have no communication with what other species are you in touch with?
None. Just us. None. There are many people who believe that there are outside beings. There are many people who believe that there are what we would term aliens, alien to us humans, right? But those people have turned that idea into sloppy worship, faith finding. But we have no concrete proof of other species. Until I didn't have any, at the very least, until 20 hours ago. But we don't either. They don't like us, or maybe we're too short-lived. I only lived to maybe see 70, 80 years.
Yes. Yeah, that is the same then. Yeah. But what other species did you contact in the last 24 hours?
Well, you and I describe what I saw of Fergus the both of the times, like, and this it ends up being one of my crewmates, but they look like this, and they have the teeth, and sort of like an old anglerfish. Oh, that's a vow. Oh,
yes.
Well.
So there are a few of them. Most in this
fish aliens.
Never know. Do you ask that out loud?
Yeah, like
he says some of them, but that means then therefore in this spiral arm there were the humans and the Val were very well distant, but just on the edge, and then one or two other species, but not that there was not that much, but there used to be more connection, and I did see that withering over time, but I shall have to rest, and I shall have to figure out.
So when resting, is that going to take you another year or two?
I will. No. Especially if we are near that point in the cycle. If they are, you said what did you say? What did you say when what is coming up?
The release.
The release.
When your progenitor lets someone out.
Oh. Huh.
I don't understand it, honestly, but you seem to. I hope you do.
Oh, I understand it. It is... See, some of them sometimes perhaps like to play at being gods. They want to try to fix things. I think
one's been talking to me. I think one's been talking to me.
You can see them straightening as they're looking at you, and they're starting to look at you a little more carefully. There is someone standing behind you.
I get told that pretty often. I don't until we had our lovely conversation, I had really decided to shut myself out from the world of the beyond, to be quite honest.
I see. I can't make out. I am not like them. I cannot make out what it is. But yes, you do have one's attention.
It feels bony.
Which means that I may not have a lot of time then.
Yes, they are definitely vying for something.
Bones? Bones, you say?
Yes, bones. That's what the impression I get. Bones and more bones.
The thing is, I should mention this. He is communicating with you telepathically, so you do get the impression you could send him a picture if you wanted.
Oh, yes. So I was like, this.
The
Is
Reaper.
it working? Is it working? Did I do it?
Yes. That's the Reaper. The Reaper is one of the ones possibly to be released.
He said, I'm telling you all this because, one, transparency is good in a partnership such as ours. Two, I would rather... I don't like the fact that I'm playing second fiddle to someone else. Apparently there's another person who can vie for his attention in some way.
They're going to... Manipulations of people... They're trying to manipulate the Magister's decision as to which one is let out. If the Reaper is on the list, then that must mean that there is... they want to make some sort of correction to the universe, I would expect.
Yes, he did say so. They did say something about I get to choose a reaping, but that seems very, very vague. I like concretions, not abstractions.
Do you like there being other humans?
Typically.
Because if the Reaper is released, their solution is going to be to slay a good portion of humanity.
Well, there it is.
I think I once had it explained to me. It was a bit ridiculous sounding. It was a bit ridiculous sounding to me, but the idea being that if you kill off a certain amount of the human population, that will ensure that the rest of them survive longer. Because of what the human population does to itself. That was the theory, at least back then.
I'm so glad you all sit around and have theories about us. That makes me warm inside.
It wasn't my theory. I make maps. Sort of gestures at the dome.
And I will appreciate you for it.
Right, yes. I would be wary then of the Reaper if the Reaper is behind you. For you may survive, and perhaps those you choose survive. But if you wish to continue trade, I take it your process is trade. Yes,
yes. You see the universe, the galaxy at large are using these crystals, to do all sorts of travel, leaving all the ley lines, all the way lines just unused, leaving forms of trade as a scarcity. You have to set up at a hub. You have to set up. There's no way to set up proper trade routes if people can just fold space from here to there.
Ah. Yes. At the risk of leaning slightly deific, I will just recommend be careful how you use the crystals if you choose to.
No. I don't want to use the crystals. I don't. Is there a problem with them?
Well, if used, yeah, and just sort of almost absent-mindedly, sort of going over now to another panel and looking at things. It means also, so he almost absent-mindedly says, "Oh well, not a problem if they're used responsibly, but otherwise it can, overuse of them can cause damage. To the wall between the damage to the void, to the walls between dimensions,
I have to say that you can't possibly understand how much vindication you have brought me today.
And basically they're going to now, as they're sort of looking through, he's like, okay. All right. Now, so, yes, it appears then... I do not wish to involve myself in any... I do not wish to involve myself in any of this that is coming, but it does mean that at the very least I have a limited time before to get to the other side. So I will have to work on that. I do not wish to appeal to them, but I will if I must. That will also perhaps affect things. Well, I'll have to see. Oh, God, my mind is still foggy. But you... Yes, I should not keep you here. You will go mad if you stay here.
Wait, I thought we were in regular space.
No, we are in regular space, but my experience... I am not sure how to put this exactly, but if I keep shorter-lived life forms around for too long, sometimes they get a distorted view of things. And I also have... Not sure if I've properly... I was not the last one in here, so I'm not sure if everything is still properly contained. Hopefully.
Great. Love it.
Everything... I imagine it's not, and it's sort of, again, sort of walking around sort of another sort of bank, and sort of hearing his voice carry as they say, I imagine it's going to be all right, as you've not been attacked or disintegrated yet, so it should be relatively safe. But there are things that sometimes, if you introduce humans in particular to certain concepts for too concentrated an amount, well, things like religions happen. And he essentially will then you start punching up some things that when you see sort of a strange thing where you see now cylinders gliding through the air going from one bank to another. And then sort of you see the stellar map above sort of resolves itself. And as he's again going back to the big dial and turning it and slow, making slight adjustments. Does that look about right for about now? And he's showing you the entire galaxy. And so for a second he's like, oh, right. And he punches it closer. So that you can see just sort of your area. So that you can see the western spiral arm of the galaxy.
Yes, I guess you would return me to Mela Station, I suppose. Is that
if you wish, or I can return you. Well, the thing is, the gate only goes to. I can only right now reasonably send you to points where there are gateways, and I could send you to Mela Station, or I could send you to, hang on, Jim has to look at his notes because he has ADHD and names drop out of his head. Or I can send you back to Azoth. Or send you to Azoth, the moon of Metaxas. There's a gate there. The third location, I could send you to the third location, but there's nothing there right now. There won't be anything there for, it looks like, 3.5 days. So that would put you in the vacuum of space, and that is not good for you.
No.
So
Mela Station it is. I have a paramour I don't wish to see on Metaxas. So
I'm sorry. And then they will sort of say, but as to your payment, are you looking for something that is helpful in mapping, or are you looking for something that is more helpful with dimensions, or something along those lines? Those are more my areas of expertise.
Mapping specifically.
Okay. I have. He sort of will look around I cannot vouch for. I have done what I can to extrapolate, so I cannot vouch for rogue objects, but I can provide you with a map. It's you're using the crystals, so you actually probably haven't gotten that far. He says, relatively speaking, I'm sure it's been a great distance. And sort of turn.
I'm gonna fucking shoot this alien.
But he will say your this arm to Galactic Center, will that suffice?
Yes.
And nearby also
So I just need to know one thing. For
Yes.
copyright purposes, trademark purposes, if people saw me incidentally as some sort of Caladrian prophet, would that make you upset? Because that is how I got you out.
Oh. I would prefer you not lean into it. What's done is done, but
Only in the name.
If I had a choice, I would just undo the some of the. No. If I would not change what I did, but I would change. If I had the choice, I would change who recorded it. Maybe, I don't know, or how it was eventually recorded. Maybe my approach could have been refined. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not going to matter in a few days. Maybe it won't even matter in a few days. It's fine. But they do not claim to speak for me. I do not want more wars fought in my name.
Only trade.
He kind of shrugs. So he will say to you, now, I need to point out this equipment is a little old now by your standards. So you may need to find a way to convert this, but I am using as recent a medium as I have access to. And he presses a few buttons, and the machine, one of these machines, there are many machines in here, but from one of them emerges, floating in midair and glowing, a crystalline cylinder. That hovers out into the room and hovers in front of you.
All right.
Which he then gestures to. Like,
Take it.
Yeah, you reach up and it'll fall into your hand once your hand is under it. This is so like this is not the same shape as the there are things that might be able to read this. You just need to find a. You just need to. Someone would need to make a thing to adapt it. It's kind of like if today I were to give you a wire recording of something. It's like you can get it converted, but you just have to find someone who does it, or you have to find someone who'll kit bash a thing for you to read it.
Right.
And he says, yes, that should be a fairly accurate map as to now, at least of the stellar positions, the positions of the stars between in that area from the edge to galactic center. So you have an entire galactic quadrant. So hopefully, dare I ask, I would recommend using that responsibly if at all possible. But should humanity survive the next few days? Sort of shakes their head. and then he sort of
I really hate that
slumps.
that's in question.
Sort of slumps for a second and sort of shrugs and says, it's evidently they want you to, that thing behind you wants you to, that being behind you, that prisoner behind you wants you to appeal on their behalf. I would recommend not doing so. I probably none of the ones they want to release right now are going to be good for humanity as it is right now, except in perhaps the very long term, maybe.
But can the release be stopped then? Is it a sure thing? Does someone have to be released?
Probably not. Probably doesn't have to be released. I think they could perhaps be convinced. The Magister is very proud of their own ideas, but I expect unless humans, I feel as though unless humans are directly, humans would need to stop doing whatever it is they're doing to cause whatever problem they're causing right now. So if they can do that, then they can. I suppose if you show in some way that they can do that, then they might be inclined to stop it.
I never trained as a barrister, but I guess I have to give it my shot.
Oh. Well, if you do that, then best of luck.
Well, just
if everything is still around.
Trying to convince somebody that they don't need to let anyone out. I don't know.
This does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? Yeah, it's just sort of shrugs and is like, because that in a day or two, within the next day or two, if I cannot find the key within the next day or two, I may be talking to my progenitor. I doubt he'll be able to truly do anything, but maybe at last I'll convince them to abandon their post and actually focus on what is important. We'll see. I doubt it. They're not very open to listening to me, but maybe things have changed for them. I don't know. We'll see. Of course. There is the question of where the prisoners will go after that, but... if there's no opening, there's no opening. At any rate. You want to go back to molestation, yes?
I suppose.
I shall have to rest very soon, so let me get you there. And goes back over to the toward the chamber you came in from, and will again go to the giant D100. Basically, go to the big sort of crystal, rotating crystal, and sort of tap on it. And we'll sort of hum into it for a moment. And you see it begins to resonate. There's this sound comes from this sort of type thing. And the center of it begins glowing as it resonates and spinning. And you can see through into that chamber, you see that the gateway flashes and the color changes a little bit, shifts back through its rainbow pattern. And you can see just beyond, you think you see the chapel again.
Oh, here goes nothing.
No. Best of luck to you.
Yes. Best of luck. I will leap through and pull out my lair opener.
Ah! All right. There are no people or indeed letters to open on the other side as of yet.
All right.
Most likely. Probably not. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what's going on the other side. So we're going to return to Fergus so that we might get caught up there. I'm going to take a moment to pour my tea as I'm preparing mentally to talk to Fergus.
Yeah, that happens to a lot of people.
Legit.
So that we may see what is happening. I realize that this is the most thrilling part, by the way, of our story. When I go into great detail about how I prepare my tea. But it has to be done. You don't understand.
It's necessary.
Tea should always be a ritual.
I gotta make the brain work. I don't make the brain work. Anything could happen.
It's true.
Whole universe could come unspooled.
I mean, it might happen anyways.
I mean, that's to be fair, that's on the menu, but still.
Yeah.
Okay, Fergus.
Yes.
So they are going to take you to the station's medical bay. Let me find a thing here that I can use. That might. Yeah, sure. I'll go back to that. It's been a while. So, he says, picking a soundtrack. So, they take you to the station's med bay, and they're gonna put you in a separate room. Eamon's gonna kind of insist, and everyone seems to be doing what Eamon wants, which is interesting. There comes a point. I do need to, but there are a couple of. Well, let me think on this. there is a process for what is about to happen. Because Eamon knows first aid for your species.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot do complicated surgery, but thankfully you don't need complicated surgery. Let me pull up the station map in front of me just so that I have that.
Well, if I remember correctly, Fergus was hit by a blaster.
Yeah.
So it's probably bleeding and burns.
Yeah. So
let's get the bleeding stopped.
We will now switch our mechanics to Medical Bay 3. To the indie RPG Medical Bay 3.
No mash?
No, that would take too long.
Okay.
Although that is another PBTA game. Mashed is another one we could use. Let's check out Medical Bay 3 by Nick Weddick. Anyway, yeah. So there is a certain degree of, outside you can hear a certain degree of running and panicking. You're in a very clean, just sort of white-walled room. They've got you on a kind of a reclining table. You are going to be healed up after. You're still within. Okay, so your species equivalent of the golden hour is probably a bit longer than an hour.
Okay.
So there's time. But just so I need to know how good a patient you are. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is the first time Fergus has ever been injured this seriously. I mean, he's had minor things that happens. Break a finger or whatever, just bumps and bruises, that kind of stuff. He is completely unprepared for the amount of pain that's involved and how this feels. It is, I think he's aware enough that he's not dying, but can tell that this is something that could worsen that and potentially lead to that if things go very wrong or if he takes another bit of harm. But I think the biggest thing for him is the dealing with this pain. He's never had anything like this happen to him before. And this is the picture I have of him in my mind, is reclining on this medical bed, with his clothes bloody and torn and burned and dealing with this pain. He's just barely managed to take back his human form to resume that camouflage. And he's doing this at his eye. He doesn't understand tears, or what tears of pain are and what this pain is. And I think there's this kind of, if you've ever heard the Tibetan monks and the overtones, so they have this really low sound, but there's this higher overtone to it. That's the sound he's making. That's his way of expressing his pain and distress.
Yeah. But
he's also kind of surprised by this physical response to that, these tears.
Yeah. There are Cormac is in this room also on another table bed. He's a little bit worse off because he was shot and hit by something. He was knocked out. I
think he took a hand to the head.
Yeah, he took something to the head, but he was shot and knocked unconscious. So part of this is that they're having to deal. Eamon and the other Sentinels are having to deal with 2 patients of your species at once.
Right.
So I need you to act under pressure so that we can see how well this is going.
Okay. Let's balance it. Not
okay.
Well. It is not going well at all.
Yes, this is... I'm sure this is fine. So...
Can I offer something? Do you want to give Fergus another level of harm?
No.
While they're
no.
focusing on... Okay.
That won't be necessary.
I was going to put that up there. Okay. I was going to put that on the table.
But I will tell you some things happen. Because you are... Again, you're making these noises, and he's having to split his attention. And there is a certain amount of... He's like, Eamon is trying to say things to calm you down, and is trying to, is having trouble finding his center right now because he's got a lot to do. And so ultimately, there are a few moments where it's like he goes over, and Cormac is starting to, where he's with you for a moment, and then Cormac, there's sort of an indicator that sounds from that they've set up from Cormac's bed, and he's like, crap, and he has to run back over to see what's happening there. And you hear something about internal bleeding. So then there are a few moments when there is... There comes a point where they have to figure out if they have anybody who has even remotely studied xenobiology that can come in and help. As it turns out, there is someone. So, you recognize Dr. Stoppard when he comes in. You don't know what he's doing here? Or how he got on this station? Necessarily? Because you were probably more focused on... I don't know if you noticed that he was being pulled out of the shuttle when he and the other folks were... You noticed Levitt.
Yeah, well, Levitt kind of always stands out.
Yeah. Stoppard has been kind of sort of helping a little with Levitt in the other room, and because Levitt's actually not that badly injured, just basically it's getting their it's psychic damage. So Dr. Stoppard is going to come in. I don't know. So Dr. Stoppard, again, just as a reminder, is in the outer ring, but down below. Works a very sort of dingy doctor's office, basically down there. And so you'd probably recognize him. I don't know how well you know that. I don't know how well you know her.
I don't think so. Again, Fergus's need for medical care has been practically non-existent his entire life. But he's aware of Dr. Stoppard, aware of where Dr. Stoppard's clinic is, and their reputation. And has probably assisted people in getting medical attention there.
Yeah. Maybe
once or twice. When he's been on planet. And I think Fergus is aware that that's where Rust was going.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They also know Rust didn't come back better.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, and Dr. Stoppard's reputation, it's kind of no questions asked, and it's we'll treat you even if you can't pay, but there's always a price. That's kind of the reputation.
Yep.
So it's...
And that Fergus is definitely aware of.
Yeah. But when you sort of see him, he's just sort of stops for a second, he sort of comes in. Oh. Hello.
What's your price? What are you going to charge?
I don't know if you noticed this, but we're not on Metaxas right now, so it's not going to do me much good to ask for
Your word, then.
As for a price, what? No, I gave an oath ages ago. You're fine.
No, your word that you won't charge. You won't ask for a price. Otherwise, we deal now.
And I think that Stopper just sort of pauses for a second, and she sort of is like, fine, my price is that you answer a few questions later.
2.
7.
3.
6.5.
That makes Fergus roll their eyes. 3.
I do 5.
Five, but I give up nobody else's secrets.
That's absolutely fine. Nothing that is secret. Understood.
And Fergus will hold up his hand.
Yeah, he'll shake. Very good.
And then he'll lay back on
And,
the table.
And basically, as you're sort of sorting things out, I say, should surprise you to know that let's see. Yeah, they took it before any of those announcements went out, I think. But at the same time, it's kind of cat's kind of out of the bag at this point. It says, "But it may surprise you to know, I have actually done. I have done a certain degree of study of your species."
Fergus just gives her a side eye because in his mind that means being laid out on a dissection table. Kind of that's the images that's coming to his head.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just goes, "And were they alive when you were done?"
Well, they weren't alive when I started.
Expect to be alive when you're done.
Well, that's my expectation as well. Now lie back. And so you'll be healed after about an hour or so. Could be a couple of hours. You'll be healed better part of an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have you're going to be down to 1 arm.
Okay.
And that will heal on its own if you give it time.
Okay.
And basically, the way it says, Eamon will occasionally come to your bedside and sort of work on things, but then occasionally, when Florence starts something to basically help, that starts a process that a machine has to do something, or whatever, she then will dart over to the other bed and help Aemon with Cormac, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, Fergus is pretty much looking over at Cormac every once in a while, just kind of tracking. He doesn't want Cormac to die. He's constantly looking and checking. And I think at one point he'll even kind of mutter, there's something that you can do I could help him. I know with humans, they need blood.
Amon sort of turns. We have, how did I need to check my notes about Amon to see if I don't think I actually wrote much about him as a person. I probably need to fix that. Yes, I do. Okay. So he's like, no, it's all right. We do have some synthetic things for this sort of occasion. It hasn't come to that, thankfully. But you will need rest. But he sort of looks at this. Do you know the Song of Restoration?
I don't know if Fergus knows it. Yes,
So,
he would.
yeah.
He knows.
Do you know anything from your home planet? I think is part of the question there.
So I think Song of Restoration, he knows a simplified version of it. It's like he doesn't know the full song, but he knows like a simple melody line because that's all he's ever needed before.
Yeah.
So he knows that.
Okay.
And so when they ask him, he just starts to sing that simple melody line.
And it is. I am going to mention briefly this part of the thing. This is to sort of help heal the psychic damage. Which you've still got, so physically the burns are gonna heal, or for you, you're patched up right now. You were shielded from the psychic damage, so you're fine there. So because of Levitt, so I think that this would be. Yeah, would you like to act under pressure again?
Sure. Why not?
Yes.
It worked out well last time.
Let's see how it goes this time. 5!
Oh.
It's slightly better. So, you haven't ruined anything. But when you come in, it's sort of halting, and you realize, after a bit, just how little of this song you actually know. As Amon sort of tries to help you out with it, and you start picking it up a little bit. But it becomes, a good portion of it becomes sort of you learning the song more than it's, the whole song's effectiveness. It is effective, but
It's kind of he's not going to heal as quickly as he should have been able to. Okay.
No, he's not going to. He's basically going to be lying there, and it's like, after a moment, his eyes open. He's like, and his eyes flick for a second, from the one state to the other for a moment, and just sort of is looking around, and Amon will turn to Florence, and sort of will go forward and sort of shake his hand and say, "Doctor, if you could leave us alone for a little bit, I would very much appreciate it. If you would leave us alone for a little bit, I would very much appreciate it. And thank you for your help." And Dr. Stoppard is like, "Certainly. See you later." And she will head out of the room. Basically, is just a reminder for folks, if I recall correctly, sort of a little bit, sort of why Dr. Stoppard sort of wild sort of little mop of sort of whitish hair and kind of wrinkled a bit. And so they head out. And Amon will turn back to Cormac and Cormac will say, we need to, we've got to find him. Stay down. Stay there. You're not going anywhere for a while. What happened? Just sort of Cormac looks over at you. I assume, did it work? I assume it did not fully work.
Well, let's just say that the ascendancy didn't get him, but he left under his own power.
The balance of things, he represents a potentially dire threat.
Well, in the balance of things, with potentially 3 prisoners being released within the next couple of days, is his release, his freedom, that much worse? I mean, I'm thinking that's probably the lesser of the 4 evils.
It has more to do with this. It has more to do with the timing, I suppose. But the warden must not know. If the warden knows, then that may complicate things.
Well, then I guess I won't tell.
And Amon is like, are you sure? Are you sure that he should not be told?
I'd be thinking that he'd want to know.
If he abandons his post, and the way is opened, no one in this galaxy would be safe.
Question. Is there a way to close it?
Unless I'm mistaken, it is closed right now. But in 3 days, it may be opened. 3 to 4 days.
Well, that's
As long
kind
as
of
I
what
am-
we're trying to. That's what we're trying to prevent.
Indeed.
So, what he told me was that there was a way that could be convinced to keep it closed. Which, I mean, then it would matter if the warden wasn't at his post, because then they'd keep it closed. Right?
It is interesting that the warden was this helpful to you. Strange. Perhaps something about them has changed.
I mean, he was kind of surprised at it. I didn't know anything about it, anybody. Like y'all.
It is not often that he is reachable. Perhaps it is the timing, if nothing else.
That could be. He's kind of close. He was like right there at the portal that we walked through. See
Visible.
him through. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Scary looking dude.
Sort of nods. Oh, I've heard.
Son could looks kind of like him.
Yes. This is difficult. And if he abandons his post, though, on the other side, there will be those who will try to... There may be those who try to break through to here. And the worlds on the other side will also be affected. We must not forget them.
I mean, that's why I came to y'all in the first place, was, to see what we could do to help keep this thing closed.
Well,
So, the warden seemed to think that you guys might be willing to help.
there is perhaps there is a failsafe of sorts. There is a key. There's a key constructed by Caledron that could do it. And
where would
as
we
long
find
as we
this
have
key?
that, we also know that Caledron cannot leave this plane. So that too is a help.
Why is it so bad for him to be reunited with his lover?
Why does the doctrine say? Why did they make this choice?
Sprockets is kind of irritated by that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
who gets to
no,
decide?
it's
why
a
they're
little
being kept
overbearing.
apart?
It is a
Yeah.
little overbearing.
Maybe more than a little, but
Yeah, it's fair. We will keep you prisoner rather than let you reconnect.
yeah.
Izeriel was exiled, and some say it was done by the warden to a place very distant in the beyond.
Why? I mean,
Some say it was because the warden did not approve of some texts. Some certain texts say that the warden did not approve of her influence on their offspring. That is one way that it is told. But there is also an unusual question of universal balance and change. See, things remain in balance, it is known, as long as they are each on a different side. But if one goes to the other side, there is upheaval eventually. Greater change. It is perhaps slow at first, but over time it was believed that it became destructive. Them together. She is the engineer. And when Caledron has a whim that moves more towards destruction, she builds it. It doesn't matter what it is, she builds it. Things for peace, things for war. In some religions, Caladrin is seen as a more neutral entity, a balancing force, if you will. But to be that, he too must remain in balance, you see.
And you think that keeping him apart from the person that he loves and imprisoned in a stone box, forcibly kept asleep, is the right way to keep him calm?
When it is when it is a question of his whim versus the universe? When it is him or the universe? I don't know that is a difficult decision.
Well, he's awake. He's going to be looking for a way to get to her. And probably a little pissed off about the way he's been treated. Can't say as I blame him.
Understandably so. We shall have to prepare.
No, what you need to do is to figure out how to make it right.
And,
I mean, I'm thinking maybe, let him through, and that's the deal, to keep the gate closed, or the portal, or whatever you want to call it. He gets to go through, it stays closed.
And you condemn the worlds of the beyond to potential eternal chaos. You would do that.
I'm pretty sure they've got their own way of figuring things out. They're not my concern.
Ah. Decide on that which is... You have a limit to what you decide is your problem.
Look. I got people here I love. And I want safe.
You are not familiar with us, are you?
I was a child. Snuck aboard a ship because it was food. They took me away. I learned to survive. And that's what I've been doing since.
We have a grave responsibility, all of us. You must know.
We were dying. There's no responsibility in dying.
No. Maybe not. And you can see he's kind of drifting off. And Amon will say, perhaps we should let him rest.
I gotta go see if my friend's still around.
I will tell you, we can talk more of this later, but I will tell you that those of us who have left our home planet, even when we were there, we understood that we have our songs, even minorly, can in ways change the universe. And there are many of us who feel a great sense of responsibility as a result of that, especially when those songs are combined. You felt it when we sang before, yes?
A little. Again, understand, nobody taught me.
I know. What I'm saying is, I am offering.
If we fix this, if we survive it, I'll come back. But I think your pessimism when it comes to the fate of the beyond the Caledron, and Azrael deserve a chance at happiness. And I imagine they're going to be a little too tied up in each other, like fomenting any chaos.
I will say, it is interesting and refreshing to see one of our number who is optimistic. And considering where we are, where we all started, can you be surprised that pessimism is a trait many of us possess?
I've spent the better part of 300 years with humans, learning to be one.
That they do have a remarkable optimism about them, don't they?
See, I figured that they and I have something in common. We're survivors.
That is true. That's very true. That is why I am here among them. That you get
Yes.
where you need to go.
Yep.
And
He's moving slow. He's clearly in pain. Every once in a while, one of those kind of keening overtone sounds come out as he's going. But his first stop will be to check in on Levitt before he leaves the medical bay.
Levitt is out like a light.
Yep, that's as long as he wants to see Levitt and to be reassured Levitt's unconscious, but Levitt's there and breathing. Good. Now I can go
Levitt
looking
is
for
okay.
Jackson.
Levitt is okay. Now, so an interesting thing happens. You will note basically the sick bay is the medical bay is a bit chaotic, and you can see that. Let's see. So, Levitt is still there. Dr. Stoppard is still there, and Dr. Stoppard is helping out. The station has doctors, but obviously you were a special case, and you're gonna see that as you are kind of heading out, and Amon is, let's see. Now, I think Amon's still staying in the med bay for the moment, but you're going to see as you are starting to head out, you do see a couple more sentinels who are kind of rushing in to tell him something. And you see they look very concerned. And after a moment, he gets up and immediately starts walking with them out of the med bay. And they are moving quickly. Their plan is to move quickly towards the west end of Station Ops. So, up to you if you wish to follow them or not, or you could look for Jackson, or you could do any number of things. What would you like to do?
Well, first up, Fergus has always been good at blending in. I mean, that's part of how he's survived. So he's got his beanie cap pulled on. He's already lost this bloodied, burned, tattered shirt that he was brought in on. He figures his pants covered in enough stains and a few more aren't going to matter. So he's blending. He's kind of just shuffling through, sticking to the walls out of everybody's way. He's going to snatch a shirt from somewhere to pull on. Peek to see Levitt. Levitt's okay, and he's just kind of shuffle his way out of the med bay and start heading towards the chapel where he knows the portal is.
Okay, so you're going in the opposite direction from them then.
Yep. He knows, as far as Fergus knows, the only way other than a ship to get off of this, away from Mela Station, is that portal. And if Jackson went with Caladrin, his money's that's where he needs to be.
Okay. Well, as you approach the Illumination Chapel, and so, Jackson, you are going to return to the Illumination Chapel. You are muted.
I have my lair opener out, and I have put the orb in a messenger bag. Very Indiana Jones.
Yes.
This is like like being a merchant of canned goods is pretty cool, but like, yeah, now Jackson's like, yeah, I'm cool now, obviously.
Yes. So, my question is, do you want to avoid anyone who is coming to the chapel, or are you fine being discovered in the chapel?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. There's what Jackson wants and what is true. Jackson would love to not be discovered in the chapel, but Jackson's not really wet work, sneaking around kind of guy. So all his like movements are like he's a people person. He kind of duck behind a corner, sure, but
absolutely fair.
It's like he's evoking the I'm being sneaky. Is that really happening? Doubtful.
Okay. So,
Jackson is too used to occupying the spaces that he is in.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, Fergus, the first thing you're going to notice upon entering the Illumination Chapel is that on the back wall, the portal, the graffiti seems to be back to its normal pattern.
Okay.
What does Fergus see upon entering of Jackson?
Well, Jackson carefully stepping away from the graffiti with a letter opener in his hand and clutching the shoulder handle, the shoulder strap of a messenger bag as he is walking around with like careful eyes, eyeing everything. He's super sneaky.
Fergus just kind of.
Yes, Fergus, how are you?
Good to see you alive.
Well, he puts the letter opener away. Yes, alive.
Your friend?
I wouldn't call Caladrin a friend. I would call him an investor.
I'm not sure I follow.
Well, he's given me he's given us maps of the known sector.
Maps already exist of the known sector.
Not like these.
Your
the known sector and
trade initiative thing.
Right, but I'm actually coming to terms with the idea that the Quantum Eye Initiative is a front for something more sinister.
Oh, you finally put that together, did you?
No, it's not that I put it together, it's I wanted to ignore it. I had my hopes.
Well, got a question. Gonna be kind of weird.
Hmm.
You mentioned a key.
Did he mention a key?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Any idea where it might be?
He says he doesn't have it. Somebody else has it.
Oh. But no idea who.
No, he's very angry about it, and then he went and took an anger nap.
Well, take a seat for a minute.
Sure.
And Fergus will relay to him essentially what he got from Cormac and Amon as far as why they wanted Caledron kept contained, what they believe might happen if he reunites with his lover, that the concern about the warden leaving his post if he knows that Caledron's out, and the idea that the key can close this opening and it can be locked. It'll stay closed. And then we'll present his idea that perhaps in return for allowing Caledron to go through, they can use the key to lock it, and then they don't have to worry about the warden abandoning his post. And maybe we might need to talk to the warden to see if something can be arranged.
Well, the way Caledron puts it is that someone has to convince the warden to not let anyone out, because all entities are very bad for everyone.
Well, that's it exactly. If we can keep the gate, if we can close the gate, then they won't get out.
Well, he doesn't have to do anything, according to Caledron. He just has to not do anything. The warden thinks we're fucking up somehow, and that he's going to release this thing as sort of, okay, you weren't around then, but in the human, okay, now that I know you're not human, maybe you read about this. In the human histories, there was a sort of culling that some of the governments did to try and reduce the populations of Earth long ago, to reduce expansion, biomass use, all sorts of things.
Yeah, they did it on my planet too.
Okay, so anything that happens with any of these wonderful entities, they're going to do the same thing.
Has Fergus seen the one behind Jackson? Because I'm remembering in the bookshop, but I can't remember if that was Fergus or Irina that saw.
I don't think. Okay, so neither. So you haven't seen it.
Okay.
I think there is a. I don't know if Jackson has described it to you or not, or has talked about it at all. Irina has briefly seen it, but that was not in the bookshop. That was on board the ship. Not too long ago. It was on board the Chimera. While it was parked in the basement of Castle Haberlane.
Okay, so that was my whole initial discussion with the warden, was that releasing these things would be bad. Period. And that was my whole initial thing, was trying to figure out how to stop it from happening.
Well, I have an insight. So I learned from Caledron that the crystals that everyone is using are not great for the universe at large. The ship powering crystals?
Right. Yeah.
Yes, okay. They're not good for everyone at large. So take that to the next step. The warden is some sort of balancing agent, or at least they think they are.
No, their job is to guard.
Right, but this release is about balance, right? Fixing a thing. on a cosmic scale, on a big scale that I don't give two shits about.
Well, I mean, I think it has something to do with that whole ground mining and what they're doing.
So, for that, if we could convince the universe at large, if we could convince the warden that we could convince people to not use the crystals,
Then what do we use?
The waylines. There are plenty of waylines that we abandoned long ago. Have you been listening to me rant for the past 10 months? No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
I've been trying to keep Trinket out of your stash.
But you've been unsuccessful in that too, so you should have listened at the very least.
So Fergus is gonna go. So waylines instead of crystals. That's gonna do what? Besides,
think about it as space environmentalism.
Ah,
yes.
Okay. Do we talk to the ward?
But we need to convince the warden that we are going to become astro champions of the astro system. Reduce, reuse, recycle, all that.
There is only just a tiny thing that I'm going to mention that you folks may remember at some point, and that is that it might also really be about convincing the Magister, who is the one who decides who decides who's going to get released. But that's if
that's its own thing.
And Fergus would have covered that with when during this conversation about what the warden told him. There were 3 chances, or three possible ways of preventing this from happening, and the third possible way was to convince them to that it would be a bad idea to release them.
All right, so we have a lot of convincing to do. Okay, well, I don't actually feel too bad about that, honestly.
So, are we talking to the ward?
Guess we're talking to everybody. Everybody we have to talk to. We seem to have a list, which is the best situation we've ever been in since we've been around each other. Is having a list of tasks that we could just boom, 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 boom.
So we need the key. We need to talk to the warden.
Right.
And we need to mediate this.
Yes. And I have a jailed person following me, so that's a big problem too.
Right. So they're aware of everything that we're doing.
Sure. I mean, they're too cosmic to give a fuck. I mean, they can't do anything until they get out. We have to stop this.
So where do we start?
Well, Caldron's behind this wall sleeping. He took a nap, a mad nap. When
he's been sleep. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Well, he said that he woke up, but he needs to rest, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it's more like a recuperative thing because he came out of basically a coma state.
Yeah, and I think Fergus will at that point move a little bit. In a way that makes him wince because he's forgotten, because he's been sitting here talking, and he's forgotten that just how much he's hurting, and then he'll move and make a wince. Go, I think I can understand that.
Well, do you have an ointment for that?
It's just gonna take time.
Jackson, your comm is going to indicate that you have a message incoming.
Oh, excuse me.
The message is from. Damn it, Jim. Sorry. Hang on. Let me pull up the thing.
New NPC. Damn it, Jim.
No. Damn it, Jim is every NPC, sadly.
Damn it, Jim.
See,
I'm a
folks,
communicator.
the way that my brain works, unfortunately, is proper names are very difficult to grab immediately. So I have to have them in a list, and I just have to pull the list up. And this list says the communique is from Adira. Adira Basara, the geophysicist. And it's text again, and it says Jackson, there may be something may be wrong. I don't know what they're looking for, but check your pin for a carrier wave. This is not something you can eyeball, but this would be this would be more of a, use some sort of scanning device to figure out if there's a carrier wave coming from the pin.
Do you have your scanner on you, Fergus?
Sure.
What kind of scanner do you have?
What he has is he pulls out that multi-wrench power tool thing that he has, and he holds it up over it, and then he starts to hum.
Okay.
So he's using it like a tuning fork.
Ah, excellent. So this is funny because you could just sense what's beyond here, or you could do read a situation.
I'm gonna go with sense what's beyond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, I'll take that.
Okay. So that means you're getting fragments and mysteries. It's you hear a counter hum in your head that is not actually, it's not a counter hum. It's not responding to your hum at all. It's a mechanical one. It's very soft. It's very quiet. It's coming from the pin. Your multi-tool kind of is indicating that there is some kind of a hum coming from the pin that has an influence on things on the station that can hear it.
Okay. So, was that it? I can fix this. I'll fix this. And he puts it down on the metal plating cement floor, whatever the floor is of this, and he takes that big ass old tool and just smash.
He's gonna smash the pin.
He's.
Jackson, are you okay with Fergus grabbing the pin?
You know what? That's fine. Like it's like, you know what? That if you know, yeah, Fergus fixes things. Absolutely, he's gonna fix it.
Yeah, he just fixed it.
And then smash, and things are still the same.
Yeah. The carrier wave stops.
Right. Well, that's taken care of. So Fergus will also take a moment to explain about the monks and the Sentinel monks, and Amon and Cormac, and then Amon rushed out with a couple of other Sentinel monks, who were humans as far as he knew. They seemed kind of urgent. I mean, they left Brother Cormac alone in the med bay, so I'm thinking that it had to be pretty urgent. We should probably go check into that.
All right, how do we check into that?
They were headed to the west side of the station.
Okay.
Are you gonna head there?
I will follow Fergus.
Okay.
Yep.
Fergus and Jackson, you are heading out of the Illumination Chapel. As you do, you are passing through Station Ops. Let's see. They don't have I need to explain that they don't have holding facilities or anything like that here exactly. They don't, so they don't, yeah, there's no jail type thing here, anything like that. But you will note, there is a point where, let me see, yeah, I have to quickly, yes, I have to check my definition here. Yeah, okay, and then. Yes, okay. Good. You see on your way, there are some sort of near on the sort of the south end of the station, you have buildings, for lack of a better term, walled off areas that are the chapter house, which is kind of sort of the meeting area. And the refectory, which is more sort of where other things, sort of like a dining area and or where the monks have other stuff going on, basically. And you see at one point there are a couple of, again, these sentinels who are escorting Adira from the chapter house to the refectory. Adira will probably notice you, but won't say anything. It just sort of will glance Jackson at you sort of significantly. As though there's like, you can tell they don't really know exactly what's going on, but they know it has something to do with the pin that the pins that you were both wearing. Basically, is sort of what you get out of that, and that the monks at least know about their pin, and at this point, and they're trying to sort out what's going on. I think is probably they're going to take her in, they're going to take them in there into the refectory and give them a stern talking to.
Is Brother Amon with them?
No.
Okay.
But you see this on your way to the Temple of Nod.
Okay.
But if you want to, I'm sorry, do you want to do something, or is there a?
I was going to say, Fergus is probably just going to kind of try and gently nudge Jackson, so that they're not directly in the line of sight of the Sentinel monks. You know, just kind of push them, nudge them. We're going to go this way, and so that they kind of can slip through the crowd without drawing attention.
I told the Sentinel monks the most amusing thing. They asked me how I got here, and I told them it was a miracle of the saint. They didn't seem happy about that.
Another reason for us to just not draw their attention.
Yeah. And you think briefly, apparently there are several people in the refectory. You see sort of when the door is open, you think that the abbot might be in there right now. But you head your way to the temple, and you see that there are more sentinels there, including Amon, who is out front, as they are talking. And you see him, basically them talking, and a couple of them talking, and they pass into the temple.
I'm going to approach Amon.
Okay, so you will need to kind of almost go into the temple in order to get his attention. Do you wish to do that?
I will. I'll let Fergus do that, and I will not go into the temple.
Yeah,
okay.
He's going to tell, wait here. Just. And then Fergus is going to go in to talk to Amon.
So, you go into the temple. It's a small temple. You've been in here, You have the sort of the benches in the aisle, and he's sort of standing in the aisle, and he turns back to you. Amon does, and it's like, and you see kind of we'll see their other coming across, and you see sort of you look behind him, and you see at the area where the altar is, that you see a robed body being covered with a cloth, lying on the floor. Of somebody, looks like one of the sentinels.
But not Cormac, obviously.
Not Cormac. No, Cormac's still in medbay. But you go up to Amon, is like,
I sing very, very softly, just for Amon's ears. I'm sorry for your loss. I need to speak with you privately and urgently regarding what happened.
he will nod, and he'll come with you out of the temple if you want to go somewhere, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Because they're busy in the temple right now.
Yeah.
Dead body.
Yeah. He'll let Amon decide where the best place is for this private conversation to have.
Yeah.
And as they exit, Fergus just reaches out and kind of grabs Jackson's sleeve to tug him along.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And he'll let him go as soon as Jackson realizes that he needs to follow. But that's
Amon will take you into a private room in station ops. Just kind of there's trying to think of the words for words. The words will not come. It's not a conference room, but it's sort of like, but it's kind of like a small conference room, like just a small meeting room. Takes you into a meeting room, and you can see outside. You can see there's a window that shows you. You see the stars, and you see the planet Discordia down below you, and you can see a little bit of the station from here, the Southwest docking bay. And there's a table, and there are a couple of chairs. There's some chairs, and he'll come out. You can see that he's mildly distressed by something, but he does ask, "What is?" But he'll say again in the common tongue once again, because it's noticed Jackson is here,
Is this the same guy who I told that my amazing joke to?
Yes.
Great.
And yes, this is that guy that you said you were here at the will of the saint, and he sees Fergus.
Fergus closed the door, and if there's a lock on it, he turns it.
It's like Amon says, and he just sort of will turn, looking at Jackson. Did you know this was going to happen?
Did I know what was going to happen? You have to be specific. As I lean back in a smarmy, knowing way.
And Fergus is not helping.
Did you know the station was going to be attacked?
Nope. Who can
Jackson.
What?
Tell him what you told me about what Caledron said.
Oh, only because you asked. So, there's a key. He would like it. There's also apparently crystals make the universe bad environmentally. We should stop.
Oh. Yes, I had heard about that, but but there is, if you need the key right now, there is a problem. As you see one of our own, and you sort of turns to Fergus, you see what happened in the temple.
Yes, I saw him.
We held the key, and it has been stolen. And I feel like that is a good place for us to bookmark it.
Okay. Bum, bum, bum.
I feel like that. I
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good place. That's a good place.
Yeah.
'Cause, we can more details will come forth, I think, as this goes. But the upshot of this is while things were happening in the main hall, things were also happening in the Temple of Nod, as it turned out.
It's fine. It'll all work out.
It's all fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll all work out.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be just
swell.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be just swell. Excellent.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen? The end of the universe?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Well, yes.
We know that.
Still.
We know what the worst outcome is.
but just...
Anything after that is, almost a win.
I can't let the universe end. How will I sell hams?
I know. We don't know if there's going to be ham in the next universe.
Right. Very uncertain.
And thankfully, it is just this universe, probably. And like the one next door in the Beyond. But just those two. Just those two universes. That's it. Just those two. Anyway. Thank you so much. This is as always a delight. As we once again, things keep happening, and we see events unfold. So we're gonna go ahead and go around and do our outros. Feel free to tell folks where they can find you and any final thoughts you had about this session, or favorite bits or what have you. And once again, we are going to start with Cleric.
Hello, I'm Cleric of Cord. You see her pronouns, and you can find me lurking in a whole bunch of Discord servers and on Blue Sky, where basically I just repost and like a bunch of stuff. And then you can find me on Sunday afternoons right here, playing Fergus, who's trying. He just wants to keep the people he cares about alive.
Yeah,
that's it. And
it seems perfectly reasonable.
And if he can reunite two universe-crossed lovers, then hey, bonus.
Always good.
And prevent the end of the universe. Yeah.
Yes, preventing the end of the universe, also helpful.
Yeah.
Also generally a good idea.
It doesn't have big ideas or anything like that. Very simple man.
Yeah.
Man.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair.
And he's got to keep Jackson alive so Trinket doesn't kill him, because that goes the supply of hams, and Trinket will throw a temper tantrum.
Yes, that is also of utmost importance, in fact. That is how Fergus maintains the universal balance. It's through with Trinket.
Keeping Trinket supplied with hams.
Keeping Trinket supplied with ham.
Actually, a thought that occurred to me is Fergus made a promise to Trinket's parents to keep him safe. All of this is about keeping that promise for Fergus. That's the one thing it comes down to, is he made a promise and he's going to keep that promise.
No, that's absolutely fair. It absolutely is. And I mean, that's a good way to go about it. You're being a good pet owner.
Friend.
You're being a good pet companion. Companion. You're being a good animal companion. Yes, there we are.
For all we know, Fergus could be Trinket's pet. Who knows?
It probably is how it actually is. I'm sure anyone who owns a cat would agree.
Yeah.
But now let us head over to Hollow.
Hey, I'm Hollow. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me on Blue Sky at Hollow Invective. Same thing as Twitter. You can find me here on Sundays, and Jim and I do have an upcoming game soon, so more about that soon.
Yes. Very soon. A thing is coming. And we will we will get into more detail about that as it gets closer. I'm just briefly going to mention here, as I see in chat, yes, Unstable Deus, I do understand. I misspoke when I said owns a cat. It's yes, I do not in fact cohabitate with a cat. I have before, but it is true. I'm not used to the proper vernacular, which is that the cat owns everything. So it's understandable. But yes, where am I? I don't know where I am. Are we somewhere? Are we in a place where
Supposedly.
things happen? Probably. Who knows? But yes, we got a thing coming up, which we might tease a little soon. But in the meantime, once again, I'm Jim Ryan. You can find me at Otherdoc on Twitch, YouTube, and most social media platforms. Where I'm not Otherdoc, I'm Jim Yes That Jim. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. Down below, if you're watching live on Twitch, you can access my website, social media links, YouTube channel, and various other things. Coming up, aside from me playing video games from time to time, this Thursday, if Lucci is available, we are going to play some more Deadline that afternoon, late afternoon, and so it's again a very old text adventure game that we're trying to get that mystery solved. And then, of course, on Sunday afternoons we have this, and you get to see more. As I'm always delighted to see things unfold, because I never really know how it's going to happen. And of course, coming up sometime within the next month or two, we're going to see another thing in space, and I'm delighted to, because things are happening in the background, so I'm delighted to see where it goes. So in the meantime, when we hit the end card, we're probably going to go say hi to somebody. As there's a couple of folks I know right now who are streaming, so we're probably going to go say hi to one of them. In the meantime, take care, and we will see you all of a sudden. Farewell.